welcome back to the Own It Show. Today we are talking about 3 simple SEO tips for small businesses to help you fill your roster without relying on socials. And we have the amazing guest here. Laura Jawad is a CEO strategist for female service providers and small business owners, helping you get found on Google and attract the right traffic. So thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful to have you.
Thank you, Heather. Thanks so much for the invitation.
It's absolutely my pleasure. And I wanted to bring you on today because one of the key themes I keep hearing about is I don't want to post on socials. I don't want to rely on socials. And so, what I really would love our audience and our clients to start doing is using SEO and publicity and networking a lot more. So, I had put it out there who could come and share, and here we are. So, I'm so grateful for you to come share your tips today. And before we dive into that, we always love to learn more about you and your entrepreneurial journey so that our listeners can not only get on the journey, stay on it, and thrive. So please tell us more about yourself and your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want the full version?
Whatever
Really?
floats your
Okay.
boat.
So I would say I have kind of an unconventional path to entrepreneurship. So I actually have a PhD in oceanography. And so my professional career began in a lab. And I was in academia for almost 20 years. In 2016, when I was pregnant with my first child, um, I was doing a lot of sports. It's the most athletic I ever been. And I was finding a hard time, or I was having a hard time finding like the resources I needed to support an athletic pregnancy. And then after I gave birth to my daughter, rehabilitate and get back to the sports I wanted to do after my pregnancy. So I spent a lot of time learning and I became obsessed with it. And those resources, they were not readily available. And I felt really compelled to share that information with other women, with other people going who are on that same journey. So in 2017 or 2018, I finally left academics. I started my business in 2017, but I formally left academics in 2018. I started a pregnancy and postpartum personal training business. Later added a birth doula practice to that. And I grew both of those businesses from the ground up using SEO.
Love it.
And so as I did that, and as I built those two booked out practices, I had more and more of my colleagues coming to me for support with their SEO and their website. Because it's a fairly, I would say it's a fairly unconventional way to grow like a personal training business right now, right? Most people are on socials. So for a couple of years, I was informally helping people with their SEO, and I decided to productize that in 2023. So in 2023, I launched my marketing business. I still have my pregnancy and postpartum personal training business as a side hustle, but this is my main focus now. But that's kind of the thread that has carried through from, my origins as an academic and then what I'm doing now. And really, when I look at it, what I see is just problem solving, right? Like addressing problems as they arise and addressing them with a business.
Yeah, and you saw a gap in the market
Yeah.
and were able to fill it. And I remember before socials, and I think it was even before there was Instagram, I had my personal training in kinesiology business and wanted to start to build my own in-person practice. And so I built a website, leaned into SEO, and that's how I signed my first high-ticket client. It wasn't social channels. It wasn't until 2019 that I think I got my first client from my social media channels. And that was after like so much more work than the SEO had been to provide the leads that I'd gotten from there. So I know it makes such a big difference. It's just become, it got, I guess, put on the back burner and everyone started relying strictly on socials. And I know that SEO can be super beneficial for your Insta or for your YouTube, for TikTok, for Reels, because they and Pinterest, they get Google search, which is super helpful. And then recently I heard on a podcast somebody who is teaching on how not to use socials and how she strictly built her business without it. And so I know that you built your first practice that way. And I think it's incredible. And there are many holistic practitioners who are more introverts and love to serve. And leaning on socials is actually out of alignment with the business they want to build. So I'm so grateful to hear about your journey and see how you filled that gap in the market, and now how you get to turn around and help all the other female business owners do the same so that they can fill their roster, not rely on socials, and build a practice that they love and get found in Google, because who doesn't want to be on the first page of the Google search when somebody is searching your zone of genius? It is of great value. I love it. So let's dive into your tips. Tell us. So number one, make sure you clearly say what you do in your customer's language on your homepage. So tell us about that.
So the very top thing that I address when I do an audit of somebody's website is the messaging, the above the fold messaging. And this surprises folks sometimes because they don't think of SEO as having to do with messaging or user experience or such, but truly SEO is a big umbrella, and messaging is very important. There's a tendency for people to talk around what they do, to use kind of flowery or over abstract language. Like, you'll go to the top of someone's website and the H1 header, the big above the fold text will say, "I help people thrive." What does that mean? Right? Google doesn't know. Cold traffic doesn't know. And so Google can't connect that website to anybody's search query. So the top thing I work with people on is making sure that they clearly state what they do, who they help, and how they help them above the fold and in their customers' language.
So I just want to say that again so
Yeah.
everyone hears that.
Yeah.
Who go ahead.
So above the fold, what you do, who you help, and how you help them in your customers' language, not
And
industry jargon, but in your customer's language.
yeah, and above the fold, she means like in the hero, in the first, right? You don't want people to have to, they might not scroll any farther than that. So that's what they see when they land. And it
Yep.
needs to be absolutely clear who you're serving, how you help them, and the results that you help them get. And I love the key that you say it's in their language,
Yeah.
because we talked about this in our networking mastermind yesterday. We had a naturopathic doctor, other people with their zones of genius. And when they started having more conversations with their clients, and I had to learn this in the very beginning as well, that what you think they're looking for is not what they're seeking. It is the results that they're seeking, but not in the words that they're using. And then thus, it's not going to be search friendly for them. And so encourage everyone who's listening to go out and have as many conversations as possible with your current clients, past clients, ideal clients, and get into their reality and hear the language that they use. They like to say, you need to give them what they want and then sell them what they need. So it might be the same thing. It's just the language is different. And so we need to make sure that resonates with what they're looking for so that you are searchable. So important.
And then I'm going to just emphasize, like, be explicit in terms of what you do. So almost without fail, a question that I ask people when I do an audit intake is, what do you imagine that people are typing into the search bar to be connected with you? And they'll type in their job title, they'll type in the name of their service, right? But 9 out of 10 times when I go to a website and Command F search for that phrase, it is not on the page. Not even just not above the fold, not on the page at all. And so, sometimes it can be really hard to read the label from inside the jar. So absolutely do your voice of customer research, do talk to people, look at your intake forms, look at what people are talking about in Facebook groups, but then also have someone else look at your website. Ask a friend, ask a coach, like, ask someone else, and just make sure you're saying what you think you're saying.
Yeah, say what you think you're saying, because what when you put something out there and it's in your language and in your expertise, and you think it says one thing or means one thing, it might be completely different to that ideal client. So
Yeah.
super important that you are having that research done so that that can be in their keywords, because that's what they're searching. It's actually usually the question I ask, where how we title our episodes. I usually now ask, what do you think your ideal client is searching on Google if they were to want to work with you? What's that number one problem? And
Mhm.
that's often how we title our episodes. And then we even look on Google to see if it is being searched. And then we might just change like one word, and it makes such a difference.
You are the first person that I think I've had an interview with or had this experience with when we had this conversation before the show, when you went to Google and you typed it into the search bar. I was blown away. Like, I don't see people doing that often enough, but that's exactly the right approach. Like, make sure the words are in the index. Make sure it's something that Google is auto completing because people are searching for it so many times. It's such an easy step to take.
And honestly, tech and SEO is not my zone of genius. And that is one of the simplest, easiest ways that I make sure that we're SEO friendly, is
Mm.
simple that autofill on Google. And I know you have some more tips for us on that, but that is one of the simplest
Yeah.
ways that
Low
we
hanging
use.
fruit. Low hanging fruit.
Exactly, right? And does it takes seconds, and then it can make such better results. So I love that. Amazing. Let's dive into tip number 2, which I love, which I haven't heard the saying before. And it really made me, and I know people talk about like, make sure the website is an experience, but I love how you say, make sure the website is a destination. And so tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. Okay. So you want Google to send people to your website. You have to be, you have to demonstrate your expertise and authority in your topic if you want Google to send people to you. And you just cannot do that with a 5-page website. You have to create content. You have to use your blog. You don't have to use your blog to create encyclopedic posts. You can use it for show notes. You can use it for case studies. You can use it for interviews. There's all different ways you can use it, but you need to flesh out your long form content on your website so that, one, Google starts to understand what you're an expert in. Two, that there are more words, like more keyword options available for your website, right? Every single page you publish is a new keyword opportunity, and likely 100 keyword opportunities, right? If you do it correctly. Um, and then finally, if you get people to your website, you want it to be a destination. You want it to be a go-to resource. You want it to be memorable. And I like to think about Disneyland, right? Like, no one's going to hop on a plane and go to Disneyland if there's just one ride, right? People go because it's a theme park, and it's like a one-stop vacation. They can go and they can take care of everything. And if you can create a resource that answers your ideal clients' questions about that topic holistically, thoroughly, then they'll keep coming back and they'll start to refer you. And then you'll be top of mind when they need the solutions that you offer. But it all starts with creating content. And so you can't expect to get found on Google if you're not creating content.
And I remember back in, I think it was early 2022, when the Facebook ads changed and the conversion of them and everything was switching up. And Apple was marking emails open, checking them for spam. There were so many things that happened in the tech world that were impeding people's results. And at that time, Kelly Roach was my coach, and she had said, like, SEO, create a blog, lean into that, be search friendly. um, and so I have not created a vlog yet. We will get to it. I have many great ideas now of how to improve our website. And one is to let's get our podcast on it. So that's one thing that we will be doing, which will help for that and help it be an experience, and a destination, so that we have free gifts, of course, and there's lots of information on there. But where's the true value add and not just the asks? Right? Versus like if you go to a website, it's usually like buy this, buy this, buy this, but what's in it for the person who's going to the website? What value will they get? And even say that in emails. If you're even doing an ask in an email, before you do that, what's the value they got? And that's what she's saying. Like, what value are you giving to these customers who, or potential customers who are coming to your website, instead of it just being sales and asks all the time? And then, not to mention that it's going to help with the SEO so
Yeah.
that it shows up when people are searching for what you do.
And eventually it starts to pre-sell your work for you. With my personal training business, I close most of my discovery calls because people have already read my blog and they understand the way I think and they like my approach. But they got to know me really, really well before we even hopped on a call because of that blog.
Yeah.
And so, in part, it's about being found, but it's also your opportunity to create that know, like, and trust with folks before you even make the ask,
Mm.
right? It's such an important piece of that.
Absolutely. And we usually say, even with your social media, you want to have enough value add content there that people can go down a 5 to 10, 15-minute rabbit hole and build that know, like, and trust with you and all the content that you have. Now, imagine if that was also on your website. So because usually if people end up on your content, often they've already been introduced to you. Wouldn't it be amazing if you had cold leads coming from search engines where people could come to your website and build that know, like, and trust factor, not just your socials? And they, in all the ways, they could also learn how they could work with you and then book a discovery call. And that, my friends, is how you shorten the sales cycle, right? Is having that connection, building that know, like, and trust, having enough content out there already so that by the time they get on a discovery call with you, they already feel like they know you and what your mission is and what you stand for and the results you can help them get. Yeah, absolutely key. All right, I love it. So, number three, tell us about that. Intentionally expand your brand awareness and digital footprint.
Okay, now this is the part that like your folks might not love. So, once upon a time, let's say 2017, when I started my website, truly your website could be a full funnel marketing machine. Okay. Like you really didn't need a brand presence outside of it. Today it's different because Google is contending with so much AI content. And I love AI. I use AI. I'm not bashing AI. I'm bashing bad AI. And Google is contending with so much of it, and they're having to expend so much literal energy to filter through it, to file through it and find the good stuff and figure out like who are the real experts with the real expertise who deserve to be writing about the stuff they're writing
Mhm.
about, teaching about. One of the ways that Google vets authors is by looking at their digital footprints because real people tend to show up in more than one place.
Mm.
And so increasingly, Google is rewarding businesses and websites for the work that they're doing outside of their website, for showing up on their socials, for guesting on podcasts, for getting mentioned in the media, for leaving reviews, right? The more you show up around the internet and and, and create a brand. This isn't like, a link from your mom's knitting blog is not going to cut it if you're a personal trainer, if you're an SEO, or if you're a business coach, right? Intentionally creating that footprint so that Google starts to understand that you're a real person that other people trust too is super, super valuable. Now, I don't love being on my socials, but I do think that it is valuable to have social accounts for this reason. I'm not advocating any certain frequency of interaction. I don't think you need to be on all of them. But I think having that account and using it to validate your brand's existence has merit these days. And so while I want to help people not rely on social media, I think social media can support your SEO, but so
Absolutely.
can all these other things. Guesting on platforms, getting mentioned in the media, leaving strategic reviews, all of these things. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I just want to add, like, that's how I got that first high ticket client. I had somebody who had built a multi-million dollar business online, by being able to show up in that number one search. And they had taught me to build, think of it like a web with your website in the middle, or your brand, and then all the things it connects to online. So when Google is searching, there's like, you're in 100 places and it's all feeding back to your website. And so that was, website, great, step one.
Yeah.
But then also, where else was I showing up? And that's when I started making social channels.
Yep.
I leaned into Instagram finally at that point. But that is how we had thought about it originally. And that's how I signed my first high ticket client that I had never met, who had searched kinesiologist in Google in Toronto. And boom, I showed up. She was able to validate me online, look at the social, see all the things, all the different places I was in, and then send me a message and book with me. And it wasn't just the website, it was all the other places that I was in that helped me rank in the search engine. And
Well,
so,
and so Google is looking at the same stuff, right? Google is checking you out in the exact same way that that client did. And so I think that that's the thing that has changed, right? Like people have always been doing that, but now Google is too. And I like how you position your website. And I like to talk about it as like like your website is like the hub of your digital presence. And same concept, right? Like I picture my website and then all the nodes coming out of it are all these different things, but everything leads back. Your website should link to all that stuff and all that stuff should link back to your website. Like all roads should lead home, sort of thing.
yeah, I love that. And that was my first mission online before social medias. And it was also blogging at that time.
Yeah.
We had Vegan Secret, Authentic Self Wellness Coaching. There were so many different blogs and stuff that we had at the time. And it was that. It was the website in the middle as a hub and everything leading back. So just thinking for you guys who are listening, how can you put yourself on other people's platforms, guest features, articles, podcasts, recommendations that are going to all start leading back and pointing to your key hub, your website. And I'm super excited. One of our friends and clients, we will be on the cover of the magazine coming out for their winter fall. Their winter fall, that was a previous one, for the winter one, which I'm super excited about, with an article. And we're going to go on the podcast. And so there's like 3 different ways just from one that will
Yeah.
start to lead back to us. And so I think some people think people don't read blogs, or maybe they only watch videos, or maybe they only listen to the audio podcasts. But people have different uh, learning styles. And so some people will prefer just to read, and some people need to see. So an Apple podcast isn't good enough. They need to watch the guests. And some people just want to listen. And so I highly encourage you to use different multimedia platforms to reach the different listeners. Because if somebody, like 40% of the population is visual and you only have audio, then you're losing a huge chunk of the people who won't resonate with it. So as an
And I mean,
NLP
I think
person,
this is part of the reason why like I blog, right? Because I don't enjoy watching video. I really don't. I listen, I take podcasts for walks. So I do like to listen, but my preferred way to learn is a blog. And so even when I'm looking for a tutorial on Google, I scroll right past all the video tutorials. I'm like, oh my God, like, don't make me watch that. I just want to find someone who's going to break it down like step 1, screenshot, step 2, screenshot. And so that's how my blog works. If
love it.
that's how you like to learn, come check me out because that's what I do, because that's how I learn, right? Um, and I think the proof is in the pudding in terms of like, do people still read blogs, or do people still like consume content in a different way? Like if you use any keyword research tool and look at the number of people searching, right? And then look at the type of content that's ranking, like you'll
Mhm.
see that there are searching in high volumes for topics that are being presented with text-based information. So if you're ignoring it, like you're missing out, which I guess this goes back to tip number 2 a little bit. Like we're circling back. Everything is connected, right?
Yeah, and I think that's super important what you were saying, because also as busy entrepreneurs, especially if you have business owners, I don't want to sit and watch a 5 minute video. I want a blog that explains that I can scan through and do in a couple of minutes and then leave and take action. And so I think, we want to hit all of them. And I just want to bring it back to the forefront that blogging has not died. In fact, it is your best friend.
Yeah, no, there's definitely still a lot of opportunity in creating blogs. I think it's changed. Like, I'm not sure that people are like putting stuff into their RSS reader and like reading blogs in the same way they were, but people are still searching for solutions. People are still searching for solutions. People still like to consume content in different ways. And I think a lot of people, especially in this age of like of AI, of so much misinformation, like to have their go-to expert. I mean, I
Mhm.
certainly know like who I trust for certain topics. And like those will be my first places to look oftentimes. And if I can't find the answer with them, then I'll do a broader search. But like I like to vet someone, and maybe like this is how my brain works, but I like to vet someone and then have like my go-to experts that I follow and like the blogs that I trust or the resources that I trust.
Absolutely. Me too. I've got like the top five that if I have questions, I'm going to them. And if then I can't find,
Yep.
and they all have different types of media. So whether it's
Mhm.
blog, long form, short form, video, audio, they've got all the different kinds. So I
Yeah.
think that's so important for everyone to remember that. Intentionally expand your brand awareness and your digital footprint and make sure that website is a destination. Amazing. So you have a special book recommendation for us. So tell us about it.
Yeah. So I love this feature of the show. This is
The
so
fave.
fun. Okay, so the book that I brought is called Range by David Epstein. And maybe it's less of a recommendation because I haven't read the whole book yet. I'm starting chapter 3. I've read the introduction, the first 2 chapters. My cat, my cat.
Goes,
Um,
it's okay. Goes to say how good it is if you're already recommended it and you're already a only third of the way through.
so we had like our pre-chat like before the show, before we hit record. But I think one of the things that I find so exciting about this is like the validation of being like the expert generalist. Like I've spent my time getting hyper specialized, right? Like I have a PhD in oceanography and I studied the chemical signals that bacteria use to communicate with each other in the ocean, right? Like I've been in the minutia, I've been hyper specialized. Um, but I think actually like where I get excited and like where like my brain really starts to like buzz is like when I get to think broadly. And I think that's why it's been so fun for me to be able to go from that into entrepreneurship where it was like, okay, I get to teach people how to exercise with consideration of their pelvic floor. You know, I got to like learn all these things and then pivoting into the SEO work and everything that that's opened up for me. Like I get really excited when I get to learn new things. And I think it's a strength, right? Because I can relate to so many different problems and I can think expansively. But so often we're taught to specialize, right? Like we're encouraged to specialize. We're encouraged to go for the degree. We're encouraged to niche down. We're always encouraged to get as specific as possible. And that's going to work for some people, but there's a lot of value in it for those of us who are what I'm going to call expert generalists, right? I'm really good at being a generalist. That's where I really excel. So, so far, the book has been a bit of validation, really good storytelling. But I think there are, as the book goes on, it looks like there's going to be some advice about how to really take advantage of your skill as a generalist and how to really capitalize on that. And so I'm excited to get to that place. So I think for any of your multi-passionate entrepreneurs, this would be a really fun read or listen. I'm listening and reading.
Love it. I like to do the same. And with that, it brought up a discussion before where we pulled out the entire quote, which is the
Oh,
jack of all trades, the master of none, but oftentimes better than the master of one. Because I
yeah.
know that most people know the first part of the quote, but not the entire quote. So I love that you brought that up, because when I was starting out as a practitioner, people would say, well, just go be a physiotherapist. And I said, that doesn't treat a person like a whole. So I've got my kin degree, I've got all these other certifications. I'm going to add nutrition in. Once I finished that, I went and added in holistic wellness and then mindset training and NLP. And so I've got so many different tools in my tool belt where I can serve and treat people like a whole, instead of, now that's dug deep because it's been 20 years.
Mhm.
And if I had just stayed, not just, because for those who it's perfect for you, amazing. And if I had stayed in one category, that wouldn't have been in alignment with me. So to all the
And
people who are
and
spreading, it's
and
okay.
look, there's like a place for those real specialists, right? Like there is a place for that. Like when I go to the doctor for a specific thing, like I want the doctor who is good at that one thing,
Yes.
right? I appreciate those people too. I think the thing that is so refreshing about this is just that it celebrates
Mm.
the other half of people
Yay, the rest of us.
who can like put everything together, right? Like there's people who excel in the really dialed down niche specialty, and then there's people whose specialty is being able to see the bigger picture. And I don't think we celebrate that enough. And so that's what I'm really digging about this book.
I love that.
Yeah.
Celebrating the people who see from the big picture. I love
Yeah.
it. Amazing. People like you and me. And you have an incredible gift for our audience today. So tell us about it and why they should grab it.
Yes. So we talked at the beginning of this. The first tip was talking about making sure you say what you do, who you help, how you help them in your customer's language, right? Essentially, choosing keywords that your customers are actually typing into the search bar.
Mhm.
So, I would love to offer you guys SEO Simplified, which is a keyword research framework to help you do just that, to help you figure out what words, what questions your audience is typing into the search bar, and then understanding where to put them on your website for SEO. So you can grab that if you go to laurajawadmarketing.com/ the Own It Show, no spaces. And Heather has the link. So I think she'll share that with you in the comments or the notes.
Yeah, in the description, we'll share that with you, plus the key tips and all her links and everything so that you can connect with her. And as we talked about, socials are amazing. It's part of the things that are pointing back to your main key hub. And SEO is going to help you build and expand to attract the right people, show up in the search engines, and not rely on socials. And I really want you guys to start to build your own ecosystem that is not built on another platform where those leads are not yours. And so, how do we get more people back to the website? Let's own that SEO. And this SEO Simplified Keyword Research Workbook is a gift from Laura that you guys got to grab. So, I'll drop that link below. Make sure that you grab it. And thank you so much for being on the show today. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think that's it. You know, pick one tip. Maybe I'll just say this, like sometimes even 3 tips can feel overwhelming.
Hmm.
So pick one and start with that. Just go audit your homepage and do a search and see if you are if the thing that you do is on your homepage. Like starting there can even make a huge difference. So just break it down and just start with one small thing.
I
That would
love it.
be
Yeah, starting with
better.
one action and get that momentum going. So, thank you again so much, Laura, for being on the show. Guys, may you own your SEO and attract those ideal clients with more ease. And remember, stay happy, healthy, wealthy, expect magic and miracles. And what is the best that can happen? We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.